Time to ring the bell. It's the beginning of the Joe and Shop show. And you know what bells mean, don't you? Ding.
That's probably so
ding,
loud. That's probably really hurting. Oh.
The Undertaker.
See, it's normally a gong.
Yeah, well, bell, gong, you know what? We're on a budget.
We are on a budget.
This week,
we're on a tight
our
budget.
picks of the week are on our top Undertaker matches. The Undertaker very recently, like within the past few days, retired. He just had his Undertaker match.
This?
What? He just had his match against the Undertaker, against Roman Reigns. They're gonna have a great match.
That was over a month ago.
I know. I was trying to keep the illusion. Anyways, we thought we'd talk. It's not relevant anymore. I mean, it's Undertaker, so it's always relevant. But we thought we'd talk about our favorite Undertaker matches. These are specifically at WrestleMania. I know we're doing the WrestleMania picks like a month ago, but guess what? It's WrestleMania picks now too. So we're gonna talk about our favorite Undertaker matches because he is a retired man. He is obviously one of the greatest WWE characters and wrestlers of all time. You can't deny that. If you deny that, I'm pretty sure you're wrong. That's like one of those like ones that is objective. Like it's just true.
Yeah, you're the one with the bell though.
So. I'm the bell. I got the. Anyways,
so we should make a wrestling promotion, and I'll let you be the bell toll guy.
Oh my god, and I'll like get hurt, and I'm like, I can't bell toll.
Oh.
Anyways, so we've all. I mean, I've seen a good bit of Undertaker matches. The best Undertaker WrestleMania match won't be on here, but these are the ones we've seen.
Yeah.
And I have seen the best one. It's obviously WrestleMania 2009 or WrestleMania 25, the 25th anniversary, even though it's the 24th anniversary. I don't know how that happened, but someone didn't count. Anyways,
yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
It literally makes zero sense. But mine, we're just going to go right into it?
Yeah, wait, hang on. The squeak means that you're ready.
That's ready. It's on the Undertaker. So when I was very big into wrestling, when I was a child, I actually only saw one WrestleMania live because the duration I was a big fan when I was a kid. It was probably like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. It was probably from right after WrestleMania 22 to like the very beginning of 2008, maybe. And so I got to see WrestleMania 23 live. My entire existence at that time. I was a big Rey Mysterio fan, a big Undertaker fan. Big. My two favorite wrestlers. Rey Mysterio was out at the time, I think, for a lot of 2007. It was hard. I was like, man, Rey Mysterio is awesome. Why is he out? But anyways, my entire life revolved around, I can't wait till WrestleMania. The Undertaker won Royal Rumble in 2007, and he was going to pseudo main event against Batista for the title because Batista had the title still. At WrestleMania 23, Ford Field in Detroit. In my entire life, like I was counting days until I got to see this match because I was a big Undertaker fan. It was going to be for the belt. It was going to get against Batista, the Animal. Everybody loved Batista back then. We still do. He's in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Great movie. And this match was great. It's actually kind of short for a title match, but I enjoyed it a ton. It's probably the one I remember the most only because I was a kid. I was watching it live. And when you're a kid, as much as you believe, like, I don't know, now you look back and you're like, of course he was going to win. It was The Undertaker. It was a streak. And until Brock, like any time before that, like there were some moments you're like, man, it might end. But a lot of the times you're like, they're going to keep a streak. It's The Undertaker. Even then, against Brock, people were like, they're going to keep the streak. Well, they didn't, but it didn't happen the way everybody wanted it to. Well, as a kid, I was just very paranoid. And I'm like, oh my God, what if he does lose the streak? The streak meant everything to me. Because I was like, if The Undertaker is this big guy, this big character, nobody can beat him. Like, that streak meant everything to me. It was almost like it was my streak. Like, he was part of me. And I was like, Undertaker can't lose. Like, he can't lose. So I was rooting right there with him. And he delivers a Batista bomb in this match. And I as a child, I literally left the TV and I ran to a different room. I'm like, Dennis, the Undertaker might lose. That's my brother. Don't ask. I was getting very too personal in there because I watched WrestleMania for like hours straight, and then we were just watching it together. And he was just as nervous as I was. Maybe not as nervous, but I was freaking out. I really thought he was going to lose. And The Undertaker finally does come out with the victory. But this is a really good match. No one really talks about it.
Yeah.
People really don't talk about WrestleMania 23 in general, I feel like, even though it's a pretty good WrestleMania, I think. But this is a good match. It could have main evented instead of Shawn Michaels versus John Cena. John Cena for his third main event in a row, winning, coming out on top as champion. But this is a great match. I know doesn't sound like I have a ton to say about it because as far as match quality goes, it's good. It's very good. There's a lot of ups and downs for both wrestlers in between it. But to me, it was more about putting myself in the shoes of when I was 10. I was just 10. That was it. It was the end of March 2007. I remember I had like testing, like exams, like state exams the week of, and it was Sunday, and the week of I had to take whatever the state exams were all week that week. And I was like, no. But the big reward after those tests was being able to watch WrestleMania. And I annoyed every kid at school. I lived in Georgia at the time, so a lot of kids at school also cared about wrestling. But there were so many people who were like, Carson, just shut up about wrestling. Shut up. I don't care about The Undertaker. Stop talking about The Undertaker. Because all my friends would be like, oh, The Undertaker, Rey Mysterio, Batista, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's just having seen The Undertaker lose twice in his career now at WrestleMania over the past few years, it's fun to go back to a time where he was unbeatable, but even as a kid, like you have that allure where you're like, man, he's no way he can lose. Like right. On the Edge and Christian show, Daniel Cormier, which by the way, great podcast. This was a great episode. Daniel Cormier knows a lot about wrestling. And I was actually surprised because I thought it would be kind of like he knows a little bit. He's a fan, but like no, he's a big fan. And he went to Payback with his kids, and kids love Roman Reigns, and they were like, no, Roman can't lose. Like Roman's a superhero, and it's fun when you're a kid. Like wrestling is like such a unique thing where like these are real life superheroes to people, but it's not made up. Like these are people. Like, these are just people who are characters, and I think that's really cool. So that's my pick of the week. Go watch that match.
I know there was, I think it was after Daniel Cormier's last fight. I don't remember the context, but he was like talking about crowds and stuff, and he's like, man, he was at a legit UFC press conference. He's like, man, did you guys see Raw when Roman Reigns came out and the crowd was just, yelling at him, and he's just like, this is my yard now. Like, man, that's how you control a crowd. And I'm like, oh, dang, he just pulled that out of nowhere. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, his kids love wrestling. He loves wrestling, too. And he knows a lot more than I was expecting. It's a very good interview. I think you guys should check it out. It's the newest Edge and Christian show. Actually, by the time it's come out, it'll be the second newest because the Kane one will be out. Go watch that. It's a much better podcast. I'm kidding.
I still haven't listened to that one. But I will. Oh my god! I just squeaked it. I'm sorry.
He actually went. He actually went to Payback, so he has a lot of fresh reactions, especially about how the Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton match felt at like actually being there. They weren't very positive.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I know the newest Bring It to the Table. They talked about like how the live crowd hated it and stuff.
Yeah, it's probably because in San Jose, you know that it's not dark outside, so it completely takes you out of the experience.
Also, you're just sitting there. You have to watch on a monitor. You have to watch it on the big Titantron. Like,
I think that can work, though. Like, I don't totally hate that. Like, remember at WrestleMania 17, like there was the hardcore match, Big Show, Raven, and Kane. Like, people had to watch that. Sometimes there's got to be backstage segments. Sometimes people got to watch. Never make it more than like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. Backstage segments live in the arena feel weird. I don't know.
Because people are going there for live entertainment. It would be like if you went to a concert. Like I wanted to go see, I don't know, here's a band I like, Periphery. I want to go see Periphery, and I go there, and then like they go backstage real quick, and like they take a break and they play a clip from like some pre-recorded clip of them playing a song, and I'm like, well, this is weird.
Yeah. That's exactly what. Yeah. But, I guess it's a production. The crowd, whenever they're doing a TV tape and the crowd is like, they're not playing to them as much as they would if it was a house show, So,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, how about that WrestleMania 24 I'm sure you're going to talk about?
Well, real quick, though. WrestleMania 23, to comment on yours. Yeah. Not a lot of people talk about this match for some reason. But, like, to go back on what you said about the streak, about you being a kid and stuff, too. That's one thing that the modern wrestling fan, anyone who becomes a wrestling fan like PJ after the streak ended, you know, they don't get to experience what it was like when the streak was a thing. Like now we think of it like, oh, Undertaker's coming back for a WrestleMania match. Boy. But before it was like, oh, I wonder who he's going to face at WrestleMania because it was a big, big deal. The first WrestleMania I watched live was 25, and that was the one with Shawn Michaels. And, you know, even before I even watched WrestleMania live, I watched 24, and I watched 23, and I watched 21 too. And I was, you know, all those guys were trying to break the streak, and I was like, oh man, you know, it was cool, you know, like every year you would have the one guy who's trying to break the streak, and it's something that will never happen again. It really is. So, you know, there are people who grew up on that, who grew up on the streak, and when it ended, you know, they were like, oh my God, you know, that's insane. So it definitely is a different, or like when Undertaker retired at 33, I think a lot of people accepted it like, yeah, okay, get out of here. We're done. You know, he's retired. Don't want you to hurt yourself anymore. But like the streak was a huge deal, you know, to so many people. And it really was a lot of his aura as far as, you know, big WrestleMania matches go. And so, you know, if you're a fan, like I said, after the streak came, you might not recognize like why he's so special at WrestleMania. You might not understand that, and that's fine. But
can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
The streak was like so big to me, at least, even when I hadn't watched wrestling anymore, even when I moved to a different state and wrestling wasn't really on my mind because, you know, different friends, different atmospheres. Just I kind of stopped watching for whatever reason. I still remember every year after WrestleMania, I would look to see if he won because the streak still meant something to me. Because I was like, does he still have a streak? I would be livid if he lost it, even as a kid. And it still meant something to me. So the streak was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we have Bray Wyatt, the reverse streak.
Yeah. It's still a streak. It's just a bad one.
But yeah, it really was a big deal. And to go off your 23, I'm going with 24, like you said.
Hey, he topped it year after year after year after year from like 2007 to 2010. Not kidding. He really was on top of the WrestleMania. After the Mark Henry match, 23 to 27, he was doing great. Well, actually, 2012 as well.
Even 21 with Randy Orton, that match is awesome. I almost picked that one.
That is a good match, yeah. I know you love that match.
Yeah, the choke slam into the RKO is always one of my favorites.
My favorite RKO is the Evan Bourne super shooting star press. You know, ha ha.
My favorite's the Seth Rollins.
Yeah, that's the best one, especially because we saw it live. It was like, what did they just do?
Yeah, but yeah, Edge. Edge is I'm gonna say Edge is my favorite of all time. I'm just gonna say that because I always say Chris Jericho or Edge are my favorites all time, but then Chris Jericho had like a career resurgence in the past year, and I'm like, oh wait, you know, personally, I don't think I can say someone is my favorite of all time unless their career is completely wrapped up. If that makes sense, because like I can look at their career. Oh, the cuckoo clock. I can look at their career as like like I can read it like a book, you know, beginning to end. Chris Jericho is still going, you know. So yeah, he just won the U.S. title twice in like the past like 2 months. That's insane. So, you know, it's definitely he's definitely still going. Edge is done, so I can comment on Edge's career. But yeah, Edge is my favorite of all time.
He's great.
And
he's great.
This match with Undertaker it might be my favorite from both guys, because, you know, as good as the Shawn Michaels Undertaker one was, I don't like. I don't know if I bought into it as much as maybe other people did. I pretty much figured, okay, you know, I think Undertaker's going to win here. I don't think Shawn Michaels will win. There were a couple times where I did think that, but whenever I watched, like I said, I watched 25 first, but I watched 24 on repeat. But you know, just hearing Edge also talked about on the Edge and Christian show the psychology of it.
He said he didn't watch a single match on that card because he didn't want anybody else's match to be in his head, which I actually thought could be dangerous because you don't want to copy any spots.
Yeah, that's definitely like something that I know like Stone Cold did and stuff like that to be fresh. But like
I remember Kurt Angle also when we went to Steel City Con said you always have to watch everyone's match on the card because out of respect and because you learn.
Yeah,
but hey, I'm not a wrestler. Edge makes his own decisions, so I don't
something
care.
You don't think about. Yeah. Well, I think Edge is a unique enough wrestler, and so is the Undertaker, where they didn't really have to rely too much on that, you know?
Yeah.
Because the psychology that Edge threw out for it on his podcast was like,
oh yeah, I loved hearing about that.
Undertaker would do something, he would counter it, and then maybe Undertaker would counter that, and then he would counter that counter, and like he would just try to counter everything that he was doing. And he had the Undertaker, but he forgot about the Hell's Gate, and that's what did him in. And you know that's a cool little note to put there, and you know hearing that really put like a new spin on it for me. Whereas Shawn Michaels was sheer star power, like you know Shawn Michaels is one of the best of all time. He could beat the streak here, like they would do it. And now whereas Edge, you'd say you know maybe he wouldn't do it. He's not as big of a star, but you know he's such the Edge character at the point was like so like vile. He was terrible. Like, he was such a good heel. And, you know, he always won and he always got away with all this. He was the world champion. You know, he always got away with his stuff and you didn't know how. And him walking away with the streak with ending the streak was possible. And whenever you put the spin on it, as he said, where you have to counter his counter, blah, 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 it puts it in a whole new perspective. And I really enjoyed thinking about that while I'm watching this match. And, yeah, it's just the fact that both of them main evented too. I think that says a lot about how far Edge got in his career, and you know how far the Undertaker was too, because he hadn't main evented a WrestleMania at this point since
WrestleMania 13.
Yes, and
no one cared about that main event.
Yeah, no, but you know this was this second main event. And like you said, it was the first main event people actually cared about, and you know that's they bring out the best in each other. They had a very good rivalry, great chemistry, and I don't know. I always find myself just having more positive thoughts about this than the Shawn Michaels match. I don't know why.
I think like sheer wrestling match, sheer skill, not as much story still, but sheer skill, sheer like. Star power, sheer, like everything. The Shawn Michaels match is better, but like you're thinking about like the story and like heel against face and not face against face.
Different matches, completely different matches.
Yeah, totally different. And I do love how it was all about he countered every single finisher and people forgot the Hell's Gate existed. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love this match. So, yeah,
I hate it. I've never seen it in full, but I hate it. The Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder are in it, so that's interesting.
Yeah, they're in a main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah,
face the facts.
That's the last time that'll ever happen.
Hey, maybe not.
Unless
Jinder Mahal is fighting for the world title. You never know.
I mean, I know way more than you. You stupid. You don't know anything about wrestling.
The Maharaja.
What?
The Maharaja. That's what he's calling him. That's what Jinder's calling himself.
Oh, okay. I'm an idiot. Okay.
It's okay. I haven't been watching either.
I didn't watch. I didn't watch SmackDown this week.
I can tell you what happened. It's no big deal.
I mean, we have a podcast. I probably should have watched it.
No, I don't. If something important happened, you obviously would have watched it.
I also would have known. It was also all pre-taped, so I'm not gonna have something super important happen, so people could spoil it for everybody. So I don't know.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I don't blame you. Is what I'm saying. Like if we talked about that on the podcast like a little bit last week. You know, don't worry about it.
Unless they go on a streak, you don't really have to watch live.
But hey, we have these great Undertaker matches from WrestleMania to talk about. So we have those forever.
Hey, but that's just theory. A Joe and Shab theory. See you next time.